Welcome to another episode of Crowd Content Labs or Content Creation Labs. One of the two.
I think
It's
it's
CC Labs,
Content Labs.
and
I don't
yeah,
know. What is this, episode 400?
does it feel like that to you? No, it's only
Sometimes.
episode 26, so it's early on, my friend. We'll get to 400 hopefully, if people keep enjoying this. So yeah, we have lots in this episode. So we're changing the format a little bit. We are gonna have a little bit more balance between news and tips. In the past, we most of the tips were at the end of the episode. We're gonna be in between news and tips to keep it more entertaining. So let's see how that goes. But today, so I want to start with a rant, and I'm sorry everybody. I'm gonna apologize in advance. I'm gonna start with a rant about why SEOs are focused on the wrong things. And then we talk a little bit about UCG again. There's some interesting stats that came out from an article that I came across. Then Rick is going to talk to us a little bit about putting the cart before the horse in content production. I'm really intrigued about that and what that means. So also we are going to quickly talk about Google may or may not charge for AI features in search. So that's interesting. And again, we're going to talk about streamlining your content workflows by using templates and checklists. Again, hopefully some tips and tricks that are going to help you with your content production process. And another reminder about Google crawling priorities. There's still more articles coming out about that. And at the end, we are gonna talk again about how often should content be updated. Again, this is I know there are some topics where we talked in the past, but sometimes we want to touch again on them because there might be new insights. So again, another full packed episode, but we are gonna try to keep it under 40 minutes. Hopefully, we can do that. Rick, what do you think?
I think we can handle it today.
Okay, so let's start with my rant. SEOs are focused on the wrong things. Where is this coming from? So I recently attended a call with SEOs from agencies and also from content site owners, so media publishers and agencies. That was kind of the mix. And this conversation was about how were people impacted by the recent algorithm updates and what to do going forward. Yeah, what are the alternatives? How they're feeling, and most of the people in the call have experienced either a decline or have mixed results after the algo updates, but mostly a decline. And what really bothered me at the end of the call when I left is that we talked about many things, but probably on less than 10% of the conversation or less than 5% of the conversation was on the right things. And most of the conversation was around, okay, why Google is doing all these things and Google not caring for the small guy and Google being this evil thing, or maybe not evil, but it was a little bit of a complaint around Google. Then another portion was about um, like maybe some tactics and how much AI should be in the content, and is AI being detected? Can Google detect AI? And then another part of the call is, okay, are there any black, gray hat tactics or any other things that people can do? And then, at the end of the day, there's no silver bullet. And what bothered me the most is that nobody talked about what important things, and nobody talked about what, what is necessary to do as per the direction from Google, which is how to create better quality content. There was very little talk about how can we create better quality content in an efficient way that is going to help your users. There was not a lot of focus on the users and not a lot of focus on the essence, but more about how can we keep playing this game the best possible. So, and I see that as a reflection of many SEOs. And again, not everybody, because I know there are great SEOs out there that really care about the content and the quality that they put out there. So I'm sorry if I'm generalizing, but there are many SEOs that are thinking, okay, how can I play the rules of the game? How can I game the game? Like, how can I game the system? How can I get a shortcut? What is the silver bullet, right? Some people thought AI was going to be the silver bullet. Or some backlinking strategy is going to be a silver bullet, or should I now have a brand and have an e-commerce in my site and be pretend to be e-commerce or pretend to be a brand? But again, it's so easy to hide behind the tactics, right? Like, and instead of doing the hard work of um, really creating quality content that Google's gonna like and users are gonna like. It's not so much again for Google to like; it's for your users to like. And if users like it, so hopefully that reflects on Google, and Google's gonna surface your website on search. So yeah, it still bothers me very much. I equate this to, again, I always like the analogy of fitness. You want to lose weight, but you're always looking for that the latest diet, or what is this exercise regime that is going to give me results in 30 days, or what is that liposuction or this surgery that is going to get me to look like I want. And those can get you short-term results, but they're not sustainable, because at the end of the day, there's only two ways to get fit: be active and eat right. And I know, and I apologize for, I know there's people that might have some health concerns or other things that get in the way, but in general terms. So the same for SEO, like, just create create good content consistently. That's really it. And yeah, there's technical SEO and all the things that need to happen, but yeah, let's focus on the right things, please, which is creating high quality content. So I think some SEOs need to swallow that pill. And like like Michael Jackson said so wisely, look at the man in the mirror. So yeah, you got to look in the mirror and really take a hard look at your content. Is this content good? And I know most people think their content is good quality. It's hard to look at your content and say, no, my content is not good quality. I know it's hard because you probably put a lot of effort in it sometimes, but good content is not cutting anymore. It needs to be great. It needs to be outstanding. So please, SEOs, if at least one or two of you listen to this and listen to me, let's focus on quality content rather than the tactic of the day or the fad of the day. So that's it for my rant. I'm going to shut up now. But do you have anything to add to that, Rick?
That was a great rant. I think you summed it up. Take a hard look in the mirror, right? You know, producing content doesn't give you a right to rank. Producing optimized content doesn't give you a right to rank. And yeah, sometimes the Google does things for its customer that don't align with your goals. There's no shortcuts here. And it's more than just quality content, it's valuable content. Is your content any different from the 1,000 other similar pages that are out there? Are you giving the user something that they can't get from those other websites? If you're not, you got to make the changes. There is no shortcut. There's no formula. You've got to put in the work.
Yeah, there's no silver bullet. Okay, so let's talk about the UCG debate. There was an article that made some people made an analysis on 10,000 product reviews, and they found out that about 75% of the results in the SERP were dominated by Reddit and Quora, or user generated content. So again, there's a lot of noise around Reddit and Quora being at the top of the SERP results. They seem to be some of the biggest beneficiaries of all these updates, and Google has been trying very hard to produce or to promote or to surface authentic content. And you know what? I think there's no doubt that UCG is authentic. Now, is it helpful? That's the question. And that's really the trick. So I think for product reviews, okay, maybe I think it's helpful because it's great. People have used the product, that have really tried the product, not some of these articles or blog posts with fake, people that pretended that they reviewed the product, but they actually didn't. So I don't have a big problem with that. I think where I have a challenge, and a lot of SEOs are complaining about, is how is it that for let's say a medical related search or anything that has to do with your money, your life, Google is surfacing a forum where some Joe Blow that has no idea or is not trained in medicine is giving you advice about health. So that debate continues. We talked about it last week, but I don't know. It's something interesting to watch. So
even on product reviews, Carlos, like these forums have been peppered with scam or spammy content, particularly in reviews, for that reason, because they're getting ranked now. So you can't even trust whether, even if it's UGC, If you're reading a product review, it may sound like this is authentic. It's coming from somebody who bought and used this product, but can't trust it.
Yeah. And of course, a lot of people are seeing this trend, and I'm sure there are many smart SEOs trying to figure out how to capitalize on this. So I think I really don't have an answer. I don't know what would be the answer for content marketers and how to capitalize on forums. I know communities are a great way to also create great content and get the word out there. But with forums, Reddit, and Quora, I don't really know. I don't have any tips. I'm sorry. Just kind of this is more
Well,
like
that's it.
news.
Use it as it's intended to be used. It's a great way to connect with your audience. It's a great way to find out what your audience is talking about and can help inform the content you ideate. Um, yeah, I mean, if you're active on there, if you're posting in there, if you have a social media manager that can do this for you, it can give you a presence. You can help rank that way. But again, it's not a shortcut. It's not that magic bullet. You know, you can try to do something to find a loop and help rank, but it'll be short term. It always is. It's short term gains. Don't waste your effort on it.
Yeah, I think my only advice is just keep monitoring this what's going on around UGC. Yeah, user generated content. Keep monitoring and trying to study and figure out what to do. We're studying it, and we're see if there is a way to capitalize, and we'll share some tips and tricks as we learn more. Okay, so putting the cart before the horse. What do you mean by that, Rick? What is that all about?
This
Well, putting the
happens
cart
all the
before the
time.
horse in content production, but tell us a little bit more.
All right, let me start with this, Carlos. If you take a pound of chicken, a couple pounds of flour, some chocolate chips, 3 eggs, and a pair of socks, and you throw them in the sink, and you come back an hour later, what are you going to have?
Just a nasty mess. That sounds horrible. Wait. Are these socks new or are they used?
One of each.
Oh my god. Okay.
So basically, what you're not going to have is a beef stew, right? Would you agree?
Yeah. No. Of course.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
That's just yeah.
If you knew up front that you wanted a beef stew, you would pick out the ingredients for a beef stew. You'd put them together correctly. You would cook them for the appropriate amount of time, and then you'd have a beef stew.
Mm-hmm.
We see this in content marketing all the time, and we get clients all the time who put the cart before the horse, where maybe they're doing a little bit of keyword research, going directly to ideation off that, and then into production off to the writer. And they're skipping the entirety of the pre-production phase and its purpose, and hoping that the magic happens where the writer and editor lives. And that's just not true. You know, writers and editors, with a few unicorns aside, execute. And your pre-production phase is what determines whether you're going to be successful or fail and waste your time when it comes to content marketing. And what I mean by that is you don't start with keyword research. You start with identifying which business objectives can be supported by the production of content. You work with an SEO and a strategist to identify the keyword opportunities that align with those business objectives. The strategist can help determine which channels, which content types align with those keyword opportunities that align with the business objectives. That is strategy, and it gets skipped all the time. Then, once you've identified those keywords and content types, you go into ideation. You develop a title. All of this informs the brief creation phase, and this is the most critical part of the process. The writer isn't an expert in your industry in most cases. The writer is not a strategist. They're a writer. Their success is dependent on how well prepared you are in that strategy and brief creation phase. And it gets skipped constantly. Or
Rushed.
I don't want to curse and say it's half butted, but I mean, in truth, it is. Yeah. Right. We blow through that phase before we get to production, and it's not. You will fail.
Yeah.
Your content won't perform. You may end up generating site traffic, but if you're really looking to optimize conversions, that's not going to help.
So what's the
You know, you
right
need
thing
to
to do here, Rick? What's the best path?
always start with knowing what your business goals are and then work with a strategist and an SEO to put a proper plan together before you even think about ideating or creating content briefs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know,
strategies.
if you're producing content by just doing some quick keyword research and coming up with a bunch of titles and off to the writers, it's throwing spaghetti against the wall, right? Most of it's going to hit the ground. Different types of content, different distribution channels are more ideal for certain audience segments, and those segments are the ones that can help support your business goals, depending what they are. They vary, right? And if you identify those goals and set them, that will inform how your research goes, how your ideation goes, and then you'll see content perform. And then when in the end, start measuring this stuff. There's no perfect formula, so you have to iterate. If you follow that process, see how you perform. But remember now that end content and the numbers aren't just representative of how good your writer is or how good your writer and editor and your reviewer are. It's really showing you how good your strategy is, your pre-production, because that is the most important phase and the one that gets glossed over more often than not.
Yeah, yeah, we have said it many times before here. Composition of the content is only a fraction of the process, right? Probably 30% of the process, whereas pre-production is a big chunk of it, and post-production is a big chunk of it as well. So, yeah, you got to put the time on strategy. And again, this invitation to SEOs and content marketers to you really the strategy is what's gonna dictate the success of your efforts. Okay, yeah,
Absolutely. And we've got an article going up with more information on content strategy. I think we're publishing it, if not today, early tomorrow. So we'll include the link.
Yeah,
with
let's
this
link it in
newsletter.
there.
Some really good tips in there. Please check it out.
Awesome. All right. So you know that Google may start charging for their AI features in search. Did you hear about
Like
that?
general users?
I think so. But think about it this way. You know how TV started, or TV has always been about ads, right? So you watch TV, it's technically free. I mean, and if you're not paying, but even if you're paying for cable, but in the past it was technically free, right? Like, but they're really you're paying, but with your attention to watch the ads, and then it became ad free as you stream, right? So you pay for a premium service, and now the streaming services are now starting to put ads. So this is like a cycle, right? There's nothing free. In the same, Google capitalizes on search by putting ads. That's it. Very simple. So if SGE or AI powered search is going to take away some of that ads away. Well, now you might be able to maybe have an ad free search. Also, well, all the computational power needed to again for SGE or for AI search is not free. So ChatGPT is kind of coming from AI's assistant or from a AI chatbot or an LLM becoming more of a search engine, but they started free and they start now are charging. So I think is going that way. I think also Bing Copilot is going that way. So maybe there's going to be some premium subscription. Well, YouTube has a premium subscription, right, where you have ad free. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if Google has some version of that where you're paying $10 a month and then you get ad free or you get some special features. Anyway, so interesting to see. I think we should prepare for that and start thinking about how search is going to change. And I think the best way is to diversify right now. Great content, but also diversify for different channels so you are not at the mercy of all these changes, not only in Google but in the search engines. Anything to add?
I believe it when I see it. Google could have tried to monetize users for years, but I think it'd be a mistake. Even if it's premium features, search is free.
We'll see. The user base is so big that any even if they only have like 1% or 5% uptake, it's still going to be a lot of money.
I think it'd be more about the loss of users.
Yeah.
No, we'll see.
We'll see. Okay. So you are really good at doing this, Rick, which is streamlining content workflows using templates and checklists.
I agree.
So you, yeah, yeah, hard to disagree, right? But no, joking aside, I think you are really good at this, putting processes in. That's why we are successful at scaling content for our clients. So we want to share with you some tips and tricks around using templates and checklists for streamline your content workflow. So tell us a little bit more about that, Rick. Like, how can we implement those, and what would be good advice for our audience here?
Well, what I'd like to do is just highlight a few template types that we have found to be extremely useful to help not only streamline but to centralize, um, to curate information, or to gain consistency when working with large teams. But I do want to say, when you hear the word template, because sometimes it makes people cringe, it's not boilerplating. It's just kind of making a uniform process or a uniform document so that you can gain consistency and efficiencies. So I started. Let's talk quickly about last week, because I think I talked about editorial calendars.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not using one, you're definitely behind the times. Editorial calendars go a long way to centralizing large team workflows. Our internal workflow, Carla, I think we're up to like 11 people that have their hands in content production for crowd content. And that content calendar, that editorial calendar, gives them one place to go as a source of truth for each and every article or piece of content, social media that we're publishing. All resources are on it that are needed for the brief creator. The URL is on it once it's published. The keyword information is there. Everything's there. The status, which is critical. Each person knows when it's their turn to jump in and do their thing, because you can just simply tell by the status on the order.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has their own color and quick to spot. So if you're not using an editorial calendar, I highly suggest a template. In fact, we have one. It's live on our site right now. It's really simple to use, and it comes with a document that explains the different fields and how to use them.
And it's free.
And all of these templates, and it's free. Good one. All of these templates that I'm going to talk about today are actually available on our site. We'll put a link in the newsletter or on the video in the comments. But if you go to crowd content, click up on resources, go to ebooks and templates, you'll find them all there. The next one is the content brief template. Absolutely critical, because if you use a good template, it has all of those important components that often get skipped. Everybody's really good about making sure they include an outline and the primary keyword, but we might not get those audience insights. You might not get the business objective that this content is trying to support. You may not get the intent of the searcher and how the writer should approach satisfying that. So by using a content brief template, that helps you standardize and get all of those really important components in, especially when you're using a large team, so everybody knows what to expect each time. They know what they're going to get in their content brief and how it'll help them create the content, rather than just kind of ad hocing each one or using a template that is missing these important parts. So grab the template, take a look at it. If there are components you don't need, just remove them. But it'll give you a really good starting point with lots of information that's extremely valuable for the writer. Then there's a project brief template. These are ideal for at-scale projects. If you're working with more than a couple of writers and you're producing any sort of volume, more than, say, one piece of content a week. The reason a project brief is important is because it helps keep your content brief light. You don't have to put the information in your content brief that applies to all content in the project. You put it in the project brief, and it becomes a standing order, right? It's this overarching document that describes style, voice, tone, keyword usage, other SEO requirements that you have, restricted words, structure of the piece, everything that would otherwise clutter your content brief or lead to inconsistencies when you're dealing with 2, 3, 5, 10 different writers can be spelled out in your project brief. And just like the content brief, it's got a lot of components. Some you may need, some you may not. Grab the template, pull out the ones you don't need, add ones that aren't there. But follow the template. It's got some tips for each component in it that'll help you create one, and we think that'll help you really get consistent work from your freelancers and your editors when you're working with larger teams. Excuse me. I think we talked about this recently too. We published an article recently on blog post templates. So we've created a downloadable for those templates. And don't worry, these aren't, like I said, they're not boilerplate. It's not a way to make your content all look exactly the same. It just breaks down some common blog types, like a listicle, and explains here's how you should structure it. Here are the important components to include in that type of article, and give some good tips that are useful for your brief creator and for your writers when creating these types of blog posts. And again, with larger teams can help to get you that consistency that's important for your website. Last but not least, not a template, but we do have a checklist available for you. It's a helpful content checklist. This is great for your brief creator, for your writer, your editor, your final reviewer. Anybody who's going to put hands on the content should have a copy of this helpful content checklist. Some parts apply to your SEO or your publisher, but a lot of it applies directly to the content itself. This will help keep you aligned with EEAT principles. So definitely good. Print it out, post it right on your board there, so it's directly in front of whoever's working on content. But always a good idea. You'll find some things in there that maybe you hadn't thought of when developing your content. That's it. Again, available on our website. Click on resources, then click on ebooks and templates, and they're all there. They're all free.
Yeah, those are great, and yeah, so they're all free. They're all for you to produce better content, because that's really at the end what we would like our audience to do. Always produce better content. I think there's one that we should probably create a template for, Rick, and hopefully in the future share with our. It is a pre-publishing checklist, making sure like all the things that need to be ready for you to really hit that publish button, right? Are my
I got good news for you.
Yeah, is it in the works? Is that the
It's
news?
already in the works.
Awesome. Yeah, when we have that pre-publishing template, we also put it out. But yeah, just create templates, checklists, just to standardize your process, really to make it easier for everybody, so you don't have to be repeating yourself, reinventing the wheel every time. So thank you for that, Rick. And the last topic is, how often should content be updated? And I know we have talked about this. Maybe we said how often should it be refreshed, updated, etc. But comes up all the time, and it's a very important question. We're always thinking about this internally all the time, and you should be thinking about this all the time too, especially if you have been producing content for a long time, right? If you're just starting, probably not a lot to worry about right now, but maybe in the future. But if you have a big inventory of content you have produced, this is very important. So the bad news is that there is not a rule of thumb to say when. It's not once a year, once every 3 months, because it, the favorite word for SEOs, it depends. But really, there are some principles around. So if the information is outdated, I mean, it should refresh it, right? So let's say this is a very common example: best SEO tools of 2023. Okay, we're in 2024. Maybe you should refresh it, or maybe if your article was in 2021, you should definitely refresh it. So that's a good example when you're talking about something that is the best of the latest, the latest and greatest. That latest and greatest is not going to be the latest for a long time. So maybe when the year changes in your article, you need to probably refresh that. Also, let's say if you're talking about products and there's price changes, or if there is a new product that came out, maybe then if you're doing a product comparison, a product review, maybe you need to update as well. Now, this is the easiest one is when there is content decay, when your content has some decrease in traffic that has been meaningful. So, sometimes might be a change in the algorithm, but sometimes it's just because somebody just outranked you with a better piece of content. So that's another way to consider when to refresh your content. Evergreen content needs to be refreshed less often. There's some content that is not as evergreen, and sometimes it's not even worth refreshing. For instance, we put out an article in one of the around one of the algorithm updates. Yeah, it's not worth refreshing because there's going to be another algorithm update. So it was more like news, right? So again, depending on the type of content, may or may not need refreshing. So if it is more news oriented stuff, probably it's not worth even refreshing because they're yesterday news. They already have, they're in the past. So, but if more evergreen content, you should be auditing and monitoring your content, and maybe a trigger is to look at dropping traffic, dropping rankings to update, and also look at, okay, how relevant is the information today. I know we have some articles that were written in 2014, and like, okay, is this topic still true? Is this still helpful? Or what is still relevant? Whatever is not relevant, we switch for something that's relevant to today. So you need to be auditing your content monthly, ideally, but at least quarterly or biannually, right? And don't let more than 3 or 6 months pass by without you looking at your older content. So to see what needs a refresh. Rick, I'm sure you have a couple thoughts around this.
Yeah, just real quick. I would say that if you found you're in that trend of diminishing returns, you're already late, right? You can be proactive about this, and I like the point you made. You don't want to have a knee jerk reaction every time you read an article and feel like I got to go update half my content. But we know when there are major shifts in our industry, in the technology and of our industry, in how we do things and how Google does things. When those things happen, consider your content. What does it impact? So pretty easy to go in and make a quick 10-minute change if you've got an on-staff writer or a company you partner with that has the ability to go and do quick updates to your content. It doesn't have to be a complete revamp. Just keep it fresh. And by doing that, hopefully you avoid getting in that trend of diminishing returns where now the traffic to that page is 30% of what it was in its glory days, and the whole thing needs to be revamped so that it's practically a net new article. So just keep up with that. Have your content inventory on hand, and as things change, do a scan. What does this really impact? What content do we have? And for the love of God, please prune the tree. All right, like Carlos said, we probably have some articles from 2014. Take a look. I mean, if it's why keyword density is a really good idea, you don't need to update it. You just need to cut it loose. It's time to pull that one down.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to my point about crawling budgets or crawling priorities. Google hasn't, like, they don't have a budget for your site. Okay, they're gonna crawl depending on demand, on search demand, and also depending on quality. So actually, they're saying that they want to diminish the amount of crawling they do to focus on the best quality content. So if you have your a clean inventory, then better quality, you have a better chance to get your page to be crawled by Google by having the best, most updated quality content. So there's if you have a really good editorial calendar, you can just do filter anything that was published before X date, and you can just do a quick scan, right? Like just filter by anything that was published a year ago or 18 months ago or 24 months ago. Okay, let's do a quick scan, a quick audit, and make decisions. So I said it before, is some of the best bang for your buck because these pages are probably already indexed, already have some traffic. So it's easier to get a lift in traffic from something that's already indexed, that already have some traffic, than from something that is net new. So again,
cheaper too.
Yeah, it's definitely cheaper. It's the most bang for your buck, right? Not the same amount of effort that you have for a brand new net new piece of content, right? So again, let's remind to keep refreshing our content, keep it fresh, keep it updated. Okay, that's it for today. We kept it under 40 minutes. Good job, Rick. Good job. Patting my own back that we kept it short and sweet. So again, thanks everybody. We ask you to share, like, and we're gonna share as well our LinkedIn profiles. We have a LinkedIn profile for crowd content, which lots of tips for people that write and edit. Or crowd content profile is very much focused on writing, whereas Rex and my profile, I'm more focused on content marketing and SEO in general. So follow us on LinkedIn. We're also on X, and we'll be diversifying other socials, because we talked a lot about that diversification. So if you can also give us a like and a follow there, that'd be much appreciated. In return, we bring to you this information. We'll keep. We have a lot of resources, templates, and tools that are going to come out in the next few months. So stay tuned, because there's a lot of more tools that are going to be helpful to you. And the best part, they're free. So because all that we want to do is give you more value. Okay, well, that's it for today. Thank you, Rick.
Thank
And
you.
until next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.